Mated to the Lycan King. Chapter 13. Raven drifted awake to a hush so complete she thought the castle itself must still be dreaming. Pale sunlight spilled through gauzy curtains, turning dust motes into swirling fireflies above the enormous bed. Lyana and Liora lay nestled between her and Lucian, their tiny breaths whispering against linen. Lucian's arm curved protectively around all three of them, his hand resting on Raven's hip, as if even in sleep he refused to let go. She listened for a moment to the music of 4 heartbeats moving in gentle counterpoint. It felt impossible that only weeks ago, the kingdom had echoed with battle cries and desperate prayers. Now the day began with the soft click of infants' mouths and the slow, even breaths of the man who had risked his life 100 times so this peace could exist. Lyana squeaked, fists flailing. Lucian's lashes fluttered open. He offered Raven a bleary smile, eyes still heavy with the remnants of restful night. "Morning, my queen." She brushed a thumb across the scar on his cheek, faded but forever present. "Morning, my king." Her voice was husky with sleep. Lucian stretched, careful not to jostle the girls. "They let us rest longer than I expected." "Perhaps they sensed we needed it," Raven replied. She planted a soft kiss on Lyana's forehead, then on Liora's. The twins stirred but did not wake. Lucian eased himself upright and reached for a silver bell on the bedside table. Before he could ring it, a quiet knock sounded. Ella slipped in, balancing a tray of bread, berries, and steaming herbal tea. Kieran followed with a pitcher of warm water and a basin. "Good timing," Lucian said. Ella set the tray down, smiling at the sight of the sleeping family. "They were angels all night. We peeked in at dawn. None of us had the heart to wake you." Kieran dipped a cloth in the basin and handed it to Raven. "For your face. You're glowing, but a little water never hurts." His grin softened as he watched Lyana flex her fingers. "They're changing already." Raven cleansed her cheeks with the cool cloth, savoring the freshness. "Thank you, both of you. I don't know how I'd manage without your help." "You'll manage because you're Raven," Ella said, eyes warm. "But we're here anyway." Lucian handed Raven a slice of bread slathered with honey. She nibbled while he cradled Lyana to allow Liora space to nurse. Raven guided Liora gently, marveling again at how instinctive each movement felt now. Her body had battled armies, birthed royalty, and still it performed this small miracle daily. Lucian's gaze lingered on her profile. "You look at peace." "I feel it," she admitted, for the first time in a long while. Kieran and Ella exchanged a knowing look. "Peace suits the kingdom," Kieran said. "And it suits you?" Lucian set Lyana in Ella's waiting arms. "Give me a moment to speak with my mate." Ella nodded, rocking the baby toward the window. Kieran followed, keeping an eye on Liora as she fed. When the twins were settled, Lucian leaned close. "Once they nap this afternoon, I'd like to take you someplace quiet. Just us." Suspicion twinkled in Raven's eyes. "Another surprise?" "A small one. Call it a gift to celebrate surviving sleepless nights and prophecy." She laughed. "I accept." Then she sobered. "I'd accept anything if it means an hour alone with you." He brushed a tender kiss to her lips and tasted honey there. By mid-afternoon, Lyana and Liora had fallen asleep in a cradle near the hearth, lulled by Ella's melodic humming. Kieran fetched a leather satchel and slung it across his back. "We're prepared," he told Lucian. "Ella and I will stay with them until you return." Raven knelt by the cradle, smoothing a blanket over the twins. She whispered a promise to be back before moonrise, then stood. Lucian offered his arm, and together they slipped through the halls. Guards bowed as they passed. Servants curtsied, glancing fondly at their sovereigns but stepping aside in silence. Outside, a gentle breeze carried the perfume of raven-song lilacs. Lucian led Raven down a hidden path that wound behind the main fortress, past moss-covered stones and rustling ferns, until the forest opened into a sun-drenched meadow. Raven gasped softly. Wildflowers carpeted the ground, bluebells, buttercups, and patches of crimson lupine that swayed like tiny flames. At the far edge, a clear lake mirrored the afternoon sky, its surface undisturbed but for the occasional ripple of a curious fish. Lucian guided her to a quilt spread beneath a willow, whose drooping branches offered both shade and privacy. "I discovered this place when I first took the crown," he explained. "I kept it secret for years, selfishly. I wanted to bring you here when the world felt safe enough." Raven settled onto the quilt, fingers brushing the fabric. "It's beautiful." He unpacked cheese, fruit, and a bottle of chilled elderflower cordial. They sat close, knees touching, hands entwined. For a long moment, neither spoke, content to listen to the rustle of grass and the buzz of distant dragonflies. Lucian broke the silence. "I think back to the night I found you in the rain, lost and defiant. I knew then you'd change my life, but I never imagined this." Raven traced circles on his wrist. "I feared you'd send me away once you learned the truth of my past. Instead, you gave me a future I couldn't conceive." He pressed her hand to his heart. "You gave me something greater. Before you, I ruled. Now I live." Tears shimmered in Raven's eyes, but she smiled. "That is why I never regret the scars or the battles. They led me here." Lucian cupped her face, thumbs brushing away a tear. "Let me reward your courage with peace." He leaned in, kissing her gently. The contact carried no urgency, only resonance, each press of his lips reminding her of promises made and kept. They ate slowly, feeding each other sliced peaches and laughing when juice dripped down their chins. Raven reclined, head in Lucian's lap, while he toyed with her hair. "Do you ever miss the wild?" she asked. "Only the part that lives in you," he murmured. "Fortunately, it never stays away for long." She reached up, fingers curling around the collar of his tunic. "Kiss me again." He obliged, lowering his mouth to hers. The meadow fell away, replaced by the steady drum of shared hearts. Lucian's hand slipped to her waist, reverent rather than demanding. Raven answered, deepening the kiss, tasting the sweetness of peaches lingering on his tongue. Time stretched until she lost count of heartbeats. When at last they parted, Raven exhaled shakily. "I could stay here forever." "Almost forever," Lucian corrected with a grin. "Eventually, Lyana's hunger would shake the kingdom." Raven laughed, rolling onto her side. "True. We should return before they conspire against us." They packed the remainder of their picnic and walked the lake's edge, shoes in hand. Water lapped at their ankles, cool and soothing. Lucian pointed out a heron standing sentinel on a fallen log. Raven admired the bird's stillness. "Like Thalos," she mused. Lucian chuckled. Thalos would appreciate the comparison. Perhaps Isara already noticed. At the shaman's name, Raven's smile widened. "She calms him. I've never seen him so at ease." Lucian brushed back a lock of Raven's hair. "Love has many forms. Seeing it bloom for others makes our own feel richer." The shadows lengthened, painting the meadow in shades of amber. They began the walk back to the castle, fingers interlaced, hearts light. Meanwhile, in the royal nursery, Kieran balanced Lyana against his broad shoulder, patting her back in a slow rhythm. The infant released a soft burp, then sighed contentedly. Ella sat rocking Liora, humming a lullaby. She watched Kieran with quiet admiration. "You'll be a wonderful father." He glanced at her, surprise warming into a smile. "I hope so." "I know so," Ella insisted. She leaned forward, pressing a soft kiss to Liora's temple. "Helping with them makes me think of the children we might have." Kieran's chest tightened, not with fear but with breathless wonder. He stepped closer, free hand finding Ella's. "Are you ready for that?" Ella's eyes glowed. "When the realm is safe and we're prepared, yes. I want to see you hold our child the way you hold Lyana." He rested his forehead against hers. "Then we'll make that future together." Darius observed the scene from the doorway, arms crossed. A gentle ache pulsed in his chest. equal parts joy for his friends and longing. He moved away before they noticed him, walking aimlessly until he found himself on a balcony overlooking the courtyard. Below, trainees sparred in slow-motion drills, their laughter drifting upward. For the first time in years, Darius felt outside the circle. He gripped the balcony rail. The cold iron steadied him, but it did not silence the whisper. "You have guarded others' happiness. When will you claim your own?" He exhaled, letting the wind carry his unspoken answer into the sky. The sound of boots halted behind him. Raven's soft voice reached his ears. "Darius." He turned, surprised. Lucian and Raven stood side by side, cheeks flushed from their walk. She approached, eyes sympathetic. "Thank you for watching over us. Over me. You have sacrificed so much." He shook his head. It was duty. Lucian placed a hand on his friend's shoulder. "Duty does not exclude longing. Is there something your heart desires?" Darius tried to smile. "Peace." Raven's gaze was gentle. "You deserve companionship too." He looked away. "Perhaps one day." Their voices faded as he retreated inward. He was grateful for their concern, but the emptiness within felt private, forged by years of survival. Still, their words planted a seed. As twilight painted the sky lavender, Raven and Kieran met in the practice yard. Torches flickered, casting warm halos. Raven lifted her hands, conjuring flickers of flame that danced like petals. Kieran responded, summoning a whisper of wind that coiled around the fire, shaping it into a twisting helix. "Remember how this terrified us?" Kieran asked. Raven laughed under her breath. "Mostly because we nearly burned down Lucian's stables." They guided the spiral upward. It unfurled into a fiery lotus suspended in a breeze. The petals glowed, casting shifting light across their faces. Kieran's voice softened. "The twins will wield power beyond ours." "We will guide them," Raven said, "as Lucian and Ella guide us." They let the lotus dissolve into sparks. Raven's magic dimmed. Kieran lowered his hands. For a moment they simply breathed, the evening's hush embracing them. Soon after, castle staff lit candelabras in a modest dining hall where a table had been arranged with polished crystal and fresh ivy garlands. Raven entered on Lucian's arm, her eyes widening at the intimate setting. The rest of their family gathered, Kieran and Ella smiling beside the cradle parked near the head of the table. Thalos and Isara arriving together, their closeness evident in their soft glances. Darius lingering near a wall, posture attentive. They took their seats. Lucian raised a glass of golden wine. To love, old and new. To peace, reclaimed. Glasses clinked. Conversation flowed easily. Ella coaxed a giggle from Lyana by dangling a carved feather charm. Kieran beamed, pride radiating. Thalos's low chuckle drifted across the table when Isara recounted a story of a mischievous forest spirit. Raven's cheeks ached from smiling. She leaned toward Lucian. "You planned all this?" "Only partly," he said. "The rest is the magic of friends." Dessert arrived. Honey cakes drizzled with lavender syrup. Plates cleared. Soft music began from a pair of string players stationed near an open window. Lucian stood, heart hammering. "Raven." She looked up, startled by the tremor in his voice. He offered his hand. She rose, eyes questioning. Lucian addressed their companions. "I have given countless vows on battlefields and council halls, but none weightier than the words I once spoke to this woman. Tonight I wish to speak them again, and add more." He sank to one knee. Raven's breath caught. Kieran gasped. Ella pressed a hand to her mouth. Lyana squealed as if feeling the surge of emotion. Lucian gazed up at Raven, voice low but resonant. "You met me with fire when I was forged in stone. You made me king of more than land. You made me king of your heart. Raven, my love, I vow anew to guard your flame, to nurture our daughters as sparks and to build a legacy of light. Raven's eyes filled. She clasped his hands. Lucian, you shattered the walls I built to survive. You saw not a rogue but a queen. I vow to stand at your side in dawn's joy and night's storms. I vow to keep my spirit brave, my love fierce, and my hope unbreakable. Lucian rose. They kissed, gentle yet profound. Applause and heartfelt cheers filled the room. Kieran wrapped an arm around Ella. Thalos squeezed Isara's hand. Even Darius allowed a ghost of a smile. Raven and Lucian turned to their guests. Kieran lifted his glass. To vows renewed and futures bright. Isara stood, eyes glowing softly. The strength woven here tonight forms a tapestry no blade can rend. Keep these threads tight, for darkness creeps where division grows. Yet love, unity, and truth forge shields unseen. Silence followed her words, rich with contemplation. Lucian nodded. We hear you. Dinner ended with laughter and lingering embraces. Servants cleared dishes as guests drifted into night-cooled corridors. Kieran carried the cradle to the nursery. Ella walked at his side, cheeks flushed with dreams of their own vows someday. Thalos escorted Isara through a garden lit by lanterns. He stopped near a fountain, water plinking gently. Thank you for standing with me tonight, he said. She smiled. And thank you for trusting an old soul to begin again. They leaned into each other, foreheads touching, breathing the same quiet breath. In their chamber, Raven laid the twins in their crib, brushing fingers over downy heads. Lucian wrapped an arm around her waist. Are you happy? Utterly, she whispered, but aware peace is fragile. He guided her to the bed. Then we savor every heartbeat. They undressed slowly, reverently, as though each layer removed revealed another vow. Lucian's hands traced scars on Raven's shoulders. She kissed the mark on his chest where Cedric's blade had grazed him. Their bodies joined with unhurried tenderness, love flowing like warm honey in moonlit stillness. After, Raven rested against his heartbeat, fingers splaying over his ribs. I once roamed forests, convinced I needed no one. Now I cannot imagine breathing without you. Lucian pressed his lips to her temple. And I once thought leading meant solitude. You proved me wrong. They fell into drowsy silence. Outside, clouds drifted across the moon. Inside, two infants sighed in sleep, parents wrapped in each other's arms. In the courtyard below, Isara paused, eyes on the sky. Lightning flickered on the horizon, no sound following yet. She felt a tremor in her staff. Storms will test them, she murmured. But flames tempered by love are hardest to extinguish. She turned, finding Thalos waiting. He offered his hand without words. She took it. Together they entered the castle, leaving night winds to carry whispers of destiny across the land. The next morning, Raven stirred as a distant rumble vibrated the window panes. Lucian tightened his embrace. Her eyes fluttered open, meeting his steady gaze. Neither spoke. They didn't need to. In that fragile hush, they understood that whatever storms brewed beyond their walls, their hearts had found anchor. Raven woke to birdsong and the scent of cinnamon. Sunlight glowed across the floor in pale stripes. Beside her, Lucian was already propped on an elbow, watching Lyana doze in the crook of his arm. Liora rested on Raven's chest, small fist curled against her collarbone. You rose early, Raven whispered. Couldn't waste a dawn like this. Lucian kissed the tip of Lyana's nose, then Raven's. Darius brought cinnamon bread and sweet butter. He said you need feeding before the twins devour you. Raven chuckled, careful not to jostle Liora. He fusses more than my own brother. Lucian's eyes softened. I think last night stirred something in him. He lingered by the door long after you slept. Raven brushed a thumb over Liora's downy hair. He carries loneliness like armor. Perhaps it's time someone pried it off. As if summoned, a tentative knock sounded. Darius pushed open the door. Trey balanced on one arm. Hope I'm not intruding. Raven beamed. You're a blessing. She freed an arm so Lucian could transfer Liora into his hold, then accepted a steaming mug of spiced milk. Join us? Darius hesitated, then sank into a chair near the hearth. If you're sure. Lucian passed him a thick slice of bread. Sit. Eat. Family doesn't wait outside. The word family made Darius's throat bob. He tore a bite, swallowing hard. I'm still learning how to sit still. Perhaps start with mornings, Raven suggested. The realm is quiet at dawn. Darius met her gaze, something gentle flickering there. I might try. Lyana stirred, mouth rooting. Raven switched the twins deftly, guiding Lyana to nurse. Lucian watched, mesmerized. I will never tire of this, he whispered. Then don't. Raven smoothed Lyana's brow. She peeked at Darius. What will you do today? He shrugged. Inspect the south wall repairs, maybe spar with recruits. Lucian's brows rose. You'll spar on no breakfast but sweet bread? Darius smirked faintly. Consider it fair odds. Raven's soft laughter filled the chamber. In the hearth fire, Darius thought he saw a flicker of welcome he'd never noticed before. Later, with the twins fed and napping, Kieran appeared to escort Raven to the garden. Ella followed, a blanket draped over her arm, and 2 bottles of chilled berry nectar. Lucian waved them off with a mock scowl. Remember, sister, my wife still needs rest. Raven winked. He forgets I built my life on hardship. I'll pace her, Kieran promised. They found a grassy spot beneath cherry blossoms, petals drifting like shy confetti. Ella laid the blanket. Raven stretched out while Kieran settled cross-legged opposite her. Ready? He asked. Raven inhaled, palms open. A mote of flame flickered between her hands, brightening until it formed a sphere. Kieran summoned a gentle breeze, coaxing the flame into an orbit that spiraled above their heads. Raven grinned. Your control is better. So is yours. Kieran guided the air current outward. Flame threads unfurled into shimmering ribbons. Petals swirled in their wake, igniting briefly before drifting gold and unharmed to the grass. Ella clapped quietly. You make magic look effortless. Kieran's dimples flashed. Practice. He shaped the wind into a funnel, lifting the burning ribbons into a fiery aurora that danced across treetop shadows. Raven's heart swelled with pride. Imagine what the girls will do. They'll terrify every suitor, Kieran said. Except their destined ones, Ella reminded him, brushing stray petals from her hair. Kieran's smile softened. Destiny aside, no boy will break their hearts while I breathe. Raven reached for his hand, fire winking out, and I feel that promise. They lay on the blanket, watching clouds drift between blooms. Ella's gaze followed a flock of swallows. I used to believe fate was a cage. Now I see it can be a doorway. Kieran rolled to face her. A doorway to family? His tone was careful, hopeful. Ella traced his jaw with a fingertip. Yes. When the kingdom settles, I'd like to open that door. Together. Kieran's answering kiss was tender and sure. Back inside, Thalos limped toward the library alcove where Isara pored over dusty tomes. He paused, leaning on the doorway until she glanced up, expression warm. Your shoulder aches, she noted, rising to guide him toward a cushioned bench. She placed her palm lightly over the wound. Cooling magic flowed beneath his skin. I thought to walk it off, he murmured. Stubborn wolf. She smiled, but sobered. You rarely allow help. Hard habit to break? Let me be the one you practice on. Thalos's breath hitched, he nodded. I came to ask if you'd join the vow renewal tonight. Her eyes brightened. It would honor me. He hesitated. And perhaps afterward, share tea in the Moon Pavilion? A blush crept across her aging cheeks. I would like that. Thalos's pulse pounded. Then, until tonight. She brushed her fingers over his as she passed him a scroll. I found something, an ancient lullaby for twins born of elemental flame. You might gift it to Raven. Thalos accepted the scroll as though it were gold. Dusk gathered in soft violet layers. Servants lit candelabras down the hall to the private dining chamber where Raven and Lucian welcomed their guests. Lyana and Liora dozed in a carved bassinet near the table, lulled by harp strings. Thalos presented the scroll to Raven before seating himself beside XIII. A song for the girls, he said, voice rough. Raven's eyes shone with gratitude. Darius entered last, freshly bathed, hair tied back. He chose a seat beside Kieran, greeting Ella with an easy nod. For once, his shoulders weren't clenched like armor. Dinner unfolded in a tide of warm scents. Rosemary-basted venison, squash puree laced with sage, and honey-glazed carrots. Conversation drifted from light teasing to shared memories of dire days turned victorious. When plates cleared, Lucian rose and guided Raven to the center of the room. Even forewarned, she felt her pulse skip. Lucian took her hands. Everything I was before you pales beside what we've built, he said, voice steady, yet thick with emotion. Tonight, before those dearest to us, I renew my oath. Raven's eyes blurred, and I renew mine. Without you, my fire was aimless. Now it warms a kingdom. They spoke vows both new and familiar, words of guardianship, devotion, laughter yet to come, tears they promised to share. Lucian slipped a slender band of intertwined silver and rose gold onto Raven's finger, inscribed inside with the names Lyana and Liora. Raven produced a band for him, hammered from starlight steel, etched with flame and wind entwined. Kieran and Ella clasped hands, tears sparkling. Thalos drew XIII's fingers to his lips. Darius swallowed hard, then surprised himself by joining in the applause. After the wedged-in toast, XIII lifted her staff. Candles brightened, illuminating pinpricks of silvery dust that spiraled upward and dissolved like shooting stars. The threads woven this night strengthened the fabric of fate. Hold them tight. Lucian bowed his head. We will. Music swelled. Couples drifted to dance atop mosaic floor tiles. Raven and Lucian moved in slow circles. His hand splayed across her waist. Her cheek brushed his jaw. Thalos and XIII followed, their steps tentative, but graceful. Kieran spun Ella, laughter ringing. Even Darius allowed a young court healer to pull him onto the floor, where he surprised them all with agile footwork. Hours later, candles dwindled. Raven scooped a drowsy Lyana while Lucian lifted Liora. They bid goodnight, leaving soft echoes of gratitude behind. In the corridor, Darius approached, clearing his throat. Lucian, a word? Raven paused, squeezing Darius's arm before slipping ahead to settle the twins. Lucian waited. Darius searched for words. Tonight reminded me how long I've stood outside the fire. I chose solitude, but perhaps the time has come to choose differently. Lucian clasped his forearm. The fire welcomes you whenever you're ready. I may need guidance, then lean on us, Lucian said. We're family. Darius's steady nod held promise. Later in the moon pavilion, Thalos poured jasmine tea for XIII. Crickets sang under lantern light. XIII sipped, eyes closed in contentment. Thalos watched the silver threads in her hair shimmer. Hope unfolded quietly inside him, like a long dormant flower at last catching dawn. They spoke of small things, favorite herbs, distant travels, and of large ones, what it means to serve a kingdom that grows beyond battles. At one point, XIII reached across, brushing knuckles down the healed welt on his shoulder. You recover well? She whispered. I had a good healer. He laced their fingers, marveling that the gesture felt natural. When they parted near dawn, he pressed a kiss to her hand, promising to meet again at sunset. In the nursery, Lyana stirred. Raven rose from bed, but Lucian was already at the crib, rocking gently. She watched the soft curve of his shoulders, the way starlight from the window traced the line of his jaw. Gratitude washed over her anew. He sensed her gaze and smiled. Go back to sleep. Not yet. She slipped arms around his waist, resting her cheek against his back. Tell me something. Anything. What did you wish for when you were a child? Lucian thought, rocking. Peace. I didn't understand kingdoms or power. I only knew battles stole fathers from sons. Raven tightened her embrace. Then we'll give our daughters something different. We will. He turned, kissing her forehead. With every breath we have left. They settled Lyana again, then climbed beneath blankets. Raven traced the ring on her finger, savoring its warmth. Lucian brushed hair from her eyes. You changed the definition of forever for me, he murmured. Tears prickled. And you taught me what it feels like to be safe. Their lips met, soft and slow, sealing vows spoken hours earlier. Outside, a breeze rustled banners along the ramparts. Ravens stirred in their roosts but did not caw. All lay quiet. Moments later, Raven sensed Lucian's breathing even, the weight of peaceful sleep settling over him. She stayed awake a little longer, listening to the mingled heartbeats of her family and letting the hush press gently against the echo of Isara's warning. Storms will test them. But love, woven true, was steel beneath velvet. Her eyes drifted closed with a final whispered promise to the darkness. We are ready. Far beyond the kingdom, thunderheads gathered, but for one luminous night the Lycan realm dreamed only of dawn